Good afternoon. Welcome to yet another BW Dialogue. Today we have a special guest at BW Dialogue. We have Mr. Manoj Adlakha, who is the Senior Vice President and Country Head for Amex in India. Welcome, Mr. Adlakha, to the BW Dialogue. The last 70 days have been very unusual. Tell us how they have been for you.
Thank you, Dr. Batra, for having me on this show. It's absolutely an honor and a privilege to be here. I think 70 days have been very tough on every citizen in India. And, like any other citizen, it's been tough on all of us. But the way I look at this, I'm a diehard optimist. And there are lots of learnings which have come through in the last 70 days. There is a human angle to it, which one feels very bad about in terms of what's going on with, around us. And we keep talking about when will the COVID curve flatten. So, all of us and all your viewers, of course, know about it. So it's not in my place to talk regarding that. But to your specific question, how it's been for me, and I don't want to use a cliche about new normal because there's no concept in my, in my book, at least, of a new normal. But there've been a lot of learnings. So let me just talk about American Express more than me here. When this happened, COVID happened, there was a lockdown which happened on 24th of March. We really looked at three things. We looked at what could we do for our customers, what could we do for our colleagues, our employees are called colleagues internally, and what could we do for the community that we largely operate in. So I'll take one by one. So when we looked at our colleagues, and that was our foremost, importance over there to make sure that absolutely safety and security is not compromised under any circumstances. So our global CEO, actually much before the lockdown, it started, I think, in the first week of March, he sent out a message to all the country managers and CEOs and said, if anyone is uncomfortable in coming into work, you should not come into work. And this was maybe 2 to 3 weeks before the lockdown. And I think that's a very strong message to send out. So that was one. Second, from a customer viewpoint, what we did was we immediately got, we are in the customer servicing business. So we got laptops and desktops shipped to the homes of the colleagues because they could not be coming into office.
Sure.
And we ensured that there was seamless service, which was provided. And, that was the second part. The third, which is around the community, I feel very good and proud. And like I said, there's so much of pain going around us that American Express in its own way, could deliver. We have delivered, and I don't want to get into the specification, but overall, we have delivered, we've contributed close to 9 crores across various initiatives in India alone. And that's, I would like to think that's meaningful and it's reached the right, right beneficiaries.
Fantastic. You just gave us an insight on how Amex dealt with it, making sure work from home happened before the lockdown, making sure connectivity through devices happened from home, and most importantly, giving the comfort to the community that you serve, because as you said, you're in the services business. Tell us, none of us were prepared for this, but Amex is a global operation. So you had the benefit of, so to say, learnings from what happened there in US, Europe, maybe China. So was Amex prepared a little better than others for it? And if yes, how?
I think that's a great point. So, American Express is a company which has a 170-year legacy. And that's we go back, we, started our operations in 1850 across various continents, countries. We have seen World War I, we have seen World War II, we have seen the pandemic, we have seen, Spanish flu. We have, gone through very recently, and it seems as of recently, just maybe 20 years ago, 9/11, we have seen, the economic crisis. We have weathered all those storms. But, I think it was very well put by our global CEO that when you look at 9/11, you look at, what happened in the economic crisis maybe 10 years ago, you add the two, multiply by 5, and what we are going through is equivalent to that. So we are going through a very, very big, phenomenon, so to say, not in the right way, but it's something we are weathering this storm together. But there are really 4 guiding principles that American Express has done, or a framework, if I may, that we are using as we are going through this together. One, we are at all points in time ensuring that our colleagues or our employees, the safety of their safety is fully our topmost priority. Second is to protect our customers and brand. The third piece is to structure our company for future growth, because we will get out of it. It's not whether we'll get out of this COVID, we will get out of it. And last is to remain financially strong. So those are the four key pillars or parameters on which we are operating. And I would like to think that as an organization, we've done a good job. And the second part I would just touch upon is nobody can be prepared for something of this magnitude. But I feel very good that our BCPs that we were, which were in place, not only in India, every part of the world as a global organization, and they were tested, they came into effect, and we did not have any untoward incidents. So I feel good about that.
Thank you. Manoj, I also want to know that, resilience is a quality of leaders. How do you create resilient organizations? Is there a DNA to create resilient organization? And tell us how you as a leader and both Amex as an organization are showing resilience.
Resilience, I wish there was a secret sauce around resilience. But when you look at in times like this, there are 3 or 4 things that come to mind. You cannot, as a leader, have a cookie cutter approach. It doesn't work because, it's different strokes for different folks. And what worked probably, 3 years ago, not even 3 years ago, even 3 months ago, pre-COVID, is not going to work under the current circumstances. So what we really need to do is, as leaders, we need to be agile. We need to be ready to empower our teams. I think that is so critical, and ready to take decisions on the fly. Some decisions will work out the way you want them to. Some may not work out the way you want them to. And we learn from our mistakes. So I feel, the resilience piece is all about adaptability, flexibility, a little bit of vulnerability also. We've got to be vulnerable as leaders and look at not only, what are some of the best practices happening in the communities that we operate in, learn from other leaders. I've used this opportunity a lot to speak to a lot of other industry captains, figure out what's going. Some industries have been hit far more, airlines, travel, than what we have. And, learn how they're dealing with it. And there's some fantastic stories. It need not be the industry captains. You learn a lot from your own team members, some of the adversities they're going through. So that's the way I see this.
Thank you for saying that the leader cannot have a cookie cutter approach to everything. Every human being is unique. Every colleague, employee is unique. So you got to be dealing with him or her on that unique plane. And thank you for also saying that CEOs and leaders can be vulnerable. They don't have answers to everything. And they as human beings are also dealing with things that impact them, right? So you got to be very authentic while you engage with all the stakeholders that you engage with. We talked also about learning from peers, from colleagues, from other industry leaders, and applying those learnings in a time like this to be resilient. Coming back, I keep saying, Manoj, that we've reached now a 3C economy: a collaborative, contactless, and caring economy. Tell us, how is American Express readying itself for this 3C economy, for this collaborative, caring, and contactless economy? You talk about the safety of everyone being paramount, and we understand that. But tell us, will your business undergo a fundamental change post-COVID? And if yes, what would that be?
So, from a collaboration viewpoint, I think it's in our DNA. We have to, as a team, as a global organization, collaboration is in our DNA. We do, the term that is used, you speak to any of our colleagues, whether it's in India or in the US or any other country or Japan or China, wherever, it would always be enterprise thinking. How do we think? Typically the thinking traditionally used to be many, many years ago, silo thinking. How do you get away from silo thinking and think like an enterprise? Because that's how you're going to win. If we have each other's backs, that's how we're going to win. So it's all about collaboration. Collaboration doesn't end, to my mind, only within your own institution or organization. How do you collaborate with business partners? At these, vulnerable moments, the business partners who need you more than they've ever needed you in the past, right? So it's not like, when things are good, that's when you reach out to each other. It's when times like this, that's also collaboration. So collaboration is within the organization, outside the organization. There could be times, we speak about customers. You need to collaborate with your customers, because customer cannot be looked at as a tool where you just, trying to extract the maximum. You have to provide, and, our vision, global vision at American Express is to provide the world's best customer experience every day. That's our global vision. So we have to have our customers back. And there are many instances on what we have done over the last 90 days to make sure we have their back. So that to me is collaboration across, across these constituencies. When you spoke about, in the new, I don't want to use the word new normal, but in the
The new
post-COVID,
abnormal, possibly.
new abnormal, I think that's
Yeah,
a very good way of
everything is
putting it.
abnormal. There's nothing normal
There's
about
nothing
it.
normal. There's nothing normal, unfortunately. Yes, absolutely. In the new abnormal, that's a great way to put it. So in the, in the new era that we're going to get into, when we look at what we are doing with contactless, right? And it's probably going to be a way of life. When we look at contactless, and I'm just talking about the payments industry. Let me give you two examples here. We have a business which is done by our card members, which is bricks and mortar. That means they go to a merchant, put in a card into a point of sale terminal, which is what is called a EDC machine, and put a pin, 4-digit pin from a security viewpoint, and the transaction goes through. And the other way to do transaction is online, where you're not even leaving your home and you do an online transaction. Pre-COVID, which is as recent as 3 months ago, 50% of the total business that American Express used to do was online. That business now, the total business, of course, at an overall number has come down because lockdown and everything has happened.
No.
But close to 90,
itself, and
absolutely,
consumers are spending lesser.
absolutely. But close to 90%, it's between 85 to 90% of our total billings right now are online. These are people who are doing it from the comfort of their homes.
90%.
Yes,
that's
absolutely. That's a lot. And, so they're doing it from their homes, from the comfort of their homes, of course because they can't go out, they can't go to restaurants and all, but they're doing it from their home. They may be even ordering in or dining in. So the third piece within staying with contactless, which I feel would be in the post-COVID environment, when, there is going to be, today, when you can do a contactless transaction, right, which is, where there is less than 2,000 rupees, right? You can tap and pay. You do not need to have, put in your card, hand it over to the merchant, put your, pin into the, into the EDC terminal. That is the limit. Up to 2,000 rupees, you can do that. We, as the industry body, have made a representation to the Reserve Bank of India that can be take it up to 5,000, because more and more people, I feel, going forward, will be very comfortable in using contactless. So that, and that is the way a lot of transactions are going globally. So that is the other piece that I feel is going to happen sooner than later.
So clearly, what Mr. Adlakha is saying is that the digital economy is here to stay. And as consumers find contactless ways of enjoying experiences and paying for them, Amex is prepared for the digital economy.
Absolutely.
Coming to the digital economy, do you think that the digital transformation all of us have been forced to accelerate will help in growing India's GDP, and how? In various sectors, whether it's edutech, whether it's media entertainment, whether it's delivery of services. So tell us, how can digital transformation be a leverage for growth of India's GDP?
Digital is the way forward, absolutely the way forward. And, I may not have a very good handle on the numbers on outside the payments, sphere, which payments is something I'll share in a moment. I'll share some numbers with you. But digital, even more so with whatever events have happened in the last 3 months, I think people who were shying away from technology, irrespective of age group, have taken on to technology. They have this because of a lack of choice. Adoption has happened at an amazing pace. I think just, we all know the numbers which are, spoken about, that we have 450 million feature, phones and 550 million smartphones in India on a population of one. And it doesn't mean these are unique, because a lot of people hold multiple phones, but 1 billion, mobile phones is a very, very big number. Everything can be done on a mobile phone. Today, you and I are transacting like this. It's a digital platform, right? Think about 20 years ago. I remember, not 20, maybe 30 years ago, right? I mean, we had to go to a payphone to make a phone call, even if it was 3 or 5 kilometers away. Today, I have both my boys in California. I can do FaceTime with them. I'm worried about how they are feeling. But, so everything which was earlier not possible digitally is now possible digital, in a digital form. Just staying with payments, when we look at the GDP for India, I'm talking about the 2019 GDP. The total GDP in India was about $3 trillion. We don't know what 2020 holds for us. 60% of the GDP, which is a very, very pertinent number to look at, was about $1.8 trillion was private consumption expenditure. Of the $1.8 trillion, only 10 to 15% was on cards. So the cash continues to be the predominant source of usage in India. That is moving because of some of the measures, be it GST, be it demonetization, be it we have seen the preponderance of UPI. All that is changing the way Indians transact, and it is just one way because the runway and the headroom is very, very large for this to take forward.
Since we talked about payments and digital economy, Fintech is an ecosystem that you understand deeply and are a large player. Tell us, what do you see happening for the Fintech ecosystem 6 to 12 months from now? If you can kind of give us predictions of what will happen in the Fintech space, some trends that our viewers can walk away with.
Yeah, so I think in the fintech space, India's, it's a country of such smart entrepreneurs who have, I would like to think some of the smartest brains in India, and we do things at a very low cost. So it's just the startup culture and the entrepreneur culture which exists in India is what makes fintechs, and they're going to be even more successful, I feel, going forward because of, to your earlier point, India will go digital. Whether it goes totally digital in 2 years or 5 years is anyone's guess. But fintechs are going to be the backbone. We're going to be providing solutions to every problem. Already use cases come up. It's, companies in boardrooms. Of course, there are going to be no boardrooms. They're going to be virtual, meetings. But as, a problem comes up, before you know it, there are 3 or 4 fintechs providing you a solution. So I can see the future of fintechs for every problem that we have out there and available to us as leaders.
Thank you. At this point, I want to bring in some audience questions, and then I'll put my question myself. There is a Kavita Rani. She says, "Namaste, sir. I am an assistant professor in a university, and sometimes I feel I could be a leader. I teach management, and in this subject, I teach different leadership theory. But I feel great difference in theory and practical experience. I don't want to change my profession. Please tell me how leadership can help me in my teaching profession. So how can I be a better teacher? How can I be a better leader at what I do?" Kavita Rani.
So, I'm not an expert in leadership, but I've worked, I've worked now for 30 years, and I've had I've been blessed. I've had an opportunity to be a leader of some of the best people. So 3 or 4 things that I would like to say, which to me, and, my playbook would be very different, Kavita, than yours. And, so take it in whichever way you would like to. But for me, leadership is about authenticity. Leadership is about integrity. Leadership is about transparency. Leadership is about empowerment. Leadership is about, there's a philosophy which is now started to even emerge even more. There used to be a traditional way of leadership, and there's a servant leadership. So I'm more in the latter group, which is a servant leadership, where what you're doing is really you're empowering your team. It's not about, yes, you have to think about the institution, first and foremost, because that's what you are, responsible for. But the moment you start thinking about your team and, the teams that work for you, you will see the dynamics will change. You'll start looking at and thinking about not only the physical well-being, the mental well-being, how you're empowering them, being a listening mode. And that, that changes the whole dynamics. Get the respect of the people. You will get the respect of the people only once, it's a two-way street. Like they say in Hindi, and I don't know if everyone can understand Hindi, tali do haath se bajti hai. So it's going to be, you just cannot expect, be having a very authoritarian, style of working. It has to be, take everyone's views, be a good listener. And that to me are some of the tenets of good leadership.
Mr. Adlakha, there are 5, 6 more questions. I'll come back to that a little later. Now, at this point, the one thing every business leader is thinking about, when will demand come back? And what will it take for the government and the country to get the demand back? Tell us, what are your thoughts? Because you see, as you said, 80-90% of your transactions have been digital. you also know what's happening in which sector, what are people paying for, what are they buying, what are they transacting on. Can you give us two, three insights into what consumers are doing uniquely?
Sure. I think I would, from my lens, what I'm seeing where our card members are spending, I would definitely like to share what's going on. So, as expected, no rocket science there. Airlines, hotels and restaurants are the most impacted because, it's expected, right? So airlines, while in India, let's start with India, it just started on 25th of May and in a very limited way. And unless it's essential, I don't think people are going to be getting onto a plane in a hurry. So and it's not in my place to say whether it'll be 3 months or 6 months. Time will tell. Unfortunately, we're reading the same set of, articles where we're seeing how the cases are likely to probably only, peak in the next 6 to 8 weeks. Nobody will go out there in a hurry onto a plane. And when 9/11 happened, it was totally a new set of rules which came in on security, right? So who knows? Even the new, set when 6 months later, let's say by the end of the year, when people start to fly, the demand will come back. It's not that it's not going to come back. It'll come back, but maybe in a very different form than what we know today. So that's as far as airlines. Airlines and hotels go pretty hand in hand. So when I look at hotels, I look at, people flying out of the country may be more restricted. What will start, in my view, will be, travel. So if somebody from Delhi, I'm more familiar with Delhi, will start going to places in Rajasthan, driving down, that would be the first, leg which will open. Similarly, people from Bombay will go to, let's say, Lonavala. People from Bangalore will go to, some close hill station. People from Delhi could go to Simla. That would be the first piece where they feel they're going to be in control. That kind of travel will start, and that will happen also where they have a lot of comfort in whichever properties they're going to go in. So that demand is the first piece of demand that will come up when we talk about T&D, which is travel and entertainment. I think restaurants, once people, customers start getting a comfort level that, the necessary, sanitization and health and hygiene factors have been accounted for, they'll start to feel comfortable. I just hope, and I really hope, more as an individual, that, we have, as a country, taken enough measures for 3 months. I realize the pain that is economic pain that has come with it, but it's a very, we should not do anything in a hurry. And that's why when they say stay home, stay safe, I think there's a lot to it. So unless it's absolutely essential, we should not, try and venture out if we can avoid. That would be my thing. But in terms of the demand factors, which will come back very soon, and we've already seen an uptick when we look at groceries, online delivery of groceries, right? Utilities, people will still have to pay for their utilities. That's not going to come down. Rentals are going to continue, and a lot of that you start putting on your, on your credit cards and other digital payments. So there is going to be demand for all of that, which will come back far sooner than, you still order from your online, your retail stuff. There will be a little bit of binge buying because a lot of people have been locked in. They want to, still buy that
There may
dress
be
or
an
the
initial
suit.
surge,
There may
then it
be an initial
stabilizes and then starts to grow again.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way I see this.
In fact, Mr. Ramesh Geli wants to know what major changes do you predict in consumer and investor behavior post-COVID? So I hope, Mr. Geli, you heard Mr. Adlakha talk about that. Prachi Chandaramani wants to know, would you collaborate with startups as they're expected to grow at supersonic speed? What kind of startups you're looking at, if at all, you'll collaborate?
So this is a journey we are on. We have always been. We are, as a matter of fact, spend a lot of time, in dialogue with any startup, because startups, I can't tell you how energized we feel speaking to startups, because just the enthusiasm, energy levels they have, they come out with ideation. You give them a problem, they, don't have various levels of bureaucracy. They'll come back to you in 48 to 72 hours with solutions. It's amazing. So that dialogue is something which is ongoing. It's very, I think it'll be inappropriate for me to start to say which the startups, but when I look at the entire, acquisition, the customer journey, right from acquisition to engagement, at all stages, there could be opportunities to work with startups, and those are something which are always under absolute consideration.
Arun Kumar is saying, in this pandemic situation, people are getting cashless, and going out for all necessary needs for home. But it's been found out that outlets like Reliance and Easy Day are not accepting the merchants. So what should you be doing next? It's a specific query. I'm not sure your granularity on that.
So if I got the question right, I just want to be sure that people are going out, but the merchants are not accepting, is it?
Yes.
So, and this is overall, merchants are not accepting the, you know.
It's a general question. Nothing to do with.
Okay. So I
there's
just,
an opportunity there for you to grab the market. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, in every, like they say, in every adversity there is an opportunity. So and I go back to the point I made earlier. Only 10% of the private consumption expenditure in India today is put on cards. Only 10% between credit and debit. So there is 90% cash. So my key competitor at American Express is not another competitor. My key competitor is cash. That is what I would want to eat into. And cash is something, cash handling, people are becoming more and more uncomfortable with. So I think this will give a big fillip to digital payments going forward. So we are working on this. We have had now almost 3 months of lockdown. The teams work every day in a virtual environment. We are doing a lot of R&D in how to make our products and value propositions richer so that the customers choose us and we don't have to actively solicit. But, simple marketing principles, the 4 P's of marketing. We need to have the right product, the right place, the right price for it, and of course the places and the channels of distribution. So we are working across each one of those.
There's a comment. It's not a question. Gajen Kotkari, CFA, says, I've been a very loyal customer of Amex cards for the last 8 years, and the biggest hook has been exceptional customer service. You make a call and the work gets done almost instantly. How do you make sure that customers are treated like kings, queens every day in every conversation?
Thank you so much. Firstly, my heartfelt gratitude. It's it's the teams that do it. I mentioned earlier that our vision globally and in India is to provide the world's best customer experience day in, day out. That's why we are here. Because for us, I'm very clear. It's very easy to come out with a product and for somebody to replicate it with features and benefits 24 or 48 hours or maybe a month later. But the one differentiator which cannot be replicated is service. I feel very good when lockdown happened. People could not believe it. They were calling in and they said, are you for real? Are you working? Because the call center, we were the only call center up and running. There was no other call center where the calls were being taken. Yes, the whole time may have gone up from, let's say 1 minute to maybe 1.5 minutes. But, we were working 24/7 and people could not believe it. So it's in our DNA. Service is in our DNA. And I can tell you, and I speak on behalf of my entire team, even one escalation that comes up, we address it the moment it comes to our attention.
Thank you so much. There are other questions which may or may not be related, but I take them up. There is a question from Kamant Farmarazi. Okay, if I got his pronunciation right. What do you think will happen to September intake of students who want to go and study abroad? You said your children are already abroad. So as a father, what do you think? As a parent, what are other parents thinking? I mean, it has nothing to do with Amex, but since somebody wants to know that, I thought I'd...
Yeah, I think it's a very fair question. All I can tell you is I've had 2 boys. One has finished college in California and now is working, and the second is just graduating this year. Sometimes I shudder to think what would have happened if they were graduating now, because there will be a demand-supply mismatch, right? Because what happens in terms of even admissions in September, and September is, you're absolutely right, the session, the time when the session starts. They will, both my boys were, by the way, very keen to study in India. They did not get admission despite getting marks in the 90s. So the thing, the pressure will only go up. And as parents, my only piece of advice, and having, gone through this journey, would be, this is the time when dialogue and engagement with the kids has to be at the highest. So, we have to explain to them what is the new reality, the new world that we are living in, and, within whatever's within our means, provide those choices to them. But more important than choices, it's not the resources they're going to be looking at. They're going to be looking at us as parents to give them the right advice. What should they and what should they not be doing? And a lot of time, if we can do a little bit of groundwork and research for them, instead of them depending on their, peer group to get that, I think that would go a long, long way, because the world is going to be a very different place. We are hearing about, there could be constraints and, a little bit of attainment on visas and so on and so forth. So we'll have to wait and watch how that plays out. But I'm hoping, all of us, and Dr. Gupta is a, absolute fantastic advocate over there. How can we increase the opportunity for bright Indians to work in India? How can we do that? That would be the ultimate, if we could get there, that would be the ultimate way to do it.
Rohan Gupta is saying, do you think entrepreneurship behavior among large corporations will be encouraged post-COVID? So, leaders encouraging other leaders to be entrepreneurial, to come up with solutions, ideas that help corporations in the country.
It's a fantastic question. If anything, it would be, expected. Encouragement, I think, is not probably the right. I would put it as a leader, I would expect every one of my team members to think out of the box, because these are volatile and uncertain times. We have to adapt ourselves to the new environment that we're going into. And as you can see, I always try and not use the word new normal, new environment that we're trying to, or we will get into. So my, two-piece over here or two-bit over here would be, any leader in any institution would want people who have an entrepreneur bent of mind. I myself have been there, by the way. I've worked 30 years. About 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, I think it was, I became an entrepreneur for a year. It failed. It was a venture that failed miserably. Whatever I'd earned in 15, 16 years of my life, I lost everything. But the learnings from that, what I had, at a personal level and at a professional level, have stayed with me. You know who your friends are, and and also how to build a business going forward. So
and possibly that has helped you do your current job so well.
I don't know about so well, but it's helped me in my career.
Yeah, because I keep repeating what Randy Posh says: experience is what you get when you don't get what you want. And there's nothing called a failure. It's an experience, and the project fails, the idea fails, the person never fails. I know it can be painful in terms of money, saving, and the emotional energy that goes into it. But I think it's the idea and the project that fails. The person never fails. So there are other also comments coming in. Vamsi Naidu saying, I'm a hospitality trainer at a leading institute. I give the example of American Express for customer service. Manjeet Aliwalia wants to know, since banks are getting a lot of unexpected volume through digital payment, your profitability will zoom up. Will the bank share some freebie with their valued customers? So if digital is creating better profitability, but before Mr. Adlakha answers, Mr. Aluwalia, the volumes have also come down, whereas the cost base remains the same or similar. I don't know specifically about Amex. So the profitability may or may not go up. Anyway, let Mr. Adlakha answer this.
Yeah, so for us, I don't want to get into the profitability aspect of it, but I do want to say that for us, the essence of why we are here is because of our customers. It's our endeavor to provide, and somebody before this was very kind to say that regarding the service that we provide, there is a cost. There are the intangibles that go into service, the people cost, other costs, training costs. Then there are tangibles which go into the products. And it's our endeavor always to provide products that meet the needs of the customers. So that, and how do we make products richer and richer? So even with what has happened, I'll give you one small example here. With whatever has happened with post-COVID, we have internally done a program called value injection. So where for a certain set of products, we have realized that those card members where they were highly indexed towards travel, now they cannot travel for a while. We have put other benefits, whether it's on rewards or some other cashbacks, onto those products. So we continue to think about it from a customer's lens and see what can be put back. Because for us, it is absolutely imperative that, and this is one of the principles I said, how do we protect our customers and brand? We are very, very clear on that. And it's right up there, right after our colleagues, to make sure that the health and safety of our colleagues is, protected. How do we protect our, customers and brand? So we are going to continue to focus on that all along.
I want to ask my last two questions before I end. Sure. One is, what is that one skill that you would request everyone to gain to be able to survive in the post-COVID era?
I would say empathy. The reason I would say empathy is because we don't know what's going on in people's minds around us, because people could put up a very, brave face, but we don't know. At least the good part is we all seeing each other far more than what we used to see in the past. We are interacting far more. So whether you are interacting with a colleague, whether you're interacting with one of your, team members, whether you're interacting with a friend, right? Show empathy, be a good listener, ask them what's going on in their lives. How could you help? Because if we are out there for each other at times like this, I know the word which is used is social distancing, and it's for all the right reasons. But for me, what really we need to do at this point in time is physical distancing and social proximity. We need to be close to each other, connected with each other, and show empathy to each other.
There is someone from Calcutta saying, banks didn't send credit card statements in time, then charge the levy. I don't think you can generalize. If there is a specific query, we could have taken, but it could be because of some other reasons. So I'm not going to get Mr. Adlakha to address that question.
No, but only thing I would say, given our, I've spoken
Parimal
about service.
He says,
So please drop me a line.
Sending credit card statement by post, then claim delayed payments, added finance charges, and again cancel the client's card. So
drop me a line. I would look.
I have all. So I think I'm an Amex card holder for the last 14, 15 years. And I use it a lot. I don't think I've had any issue with Amex, and so it could be you got to get into detailing on that. Maybe there are other factors at play. So I would encourage you to look into detailing and not make a general statement. This is Mr. Parimal Doshi from Calcutta. We have his numbers. We'll pass it on to you, and maybe you can address his query. It can help him. My last question, and then if there are other questions from the audience, is we all are leaders, but we all ourselves need to motivate ourselves every day. We need to learn new skills. We need to think, we need to do, we need to lead at the same time. What does Manoj Adlakha do on a daily basis that kind of gets him in the space to perform, to think, to ideate? Who are people you look up to? What do you read? How do you get your energy to be able to deal with this VUCA world? This is volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. What do you do on a daily basis to be able to center yourself?
Thank you for saying what you just said. And I get I derive my energy from the people I work with. I'd love to say that I'm a people's person. And I've never, ever in my 30 years till 3 months ago worked from home. Never, ever. I used to always say, people who are working from home, are they actually going to work from home? I would never even encourage my team members to do this. But it's for me, these 3 months have taught me so many things. One, it has taught me, it's made me more organized. I was never an organized person. Meetings start on time, meetings finish on time. The fact that the 2 hours of commute that I used to do has gone away, it has helped me a lot. I think I've had a personal touch with people. I do a lot of one-on-ones. I do a lot of, times when we do slightly wider employee connects. It is making me get to know people better. So I think I derive energy, and I'm continuing to derive energy from that. I feel good about, what's going on right now in the environment, the way people are handling things. But specifically, what it's energy. It is a lot of reading that I've started to do, which I never used to do earlier. And I still, the one piece I used to read a lot about initially when lockdown started to happen. People started to do various things, hobbies they started to take up. I wish one hobby I've always desired to have is whether I could play an instrument or not. I tried, I did not. So I think, that is something which is always going to remain as a piece. But the ability to connect with people is something I get a lot of energy and enthusiasm from. So that's the way I would put
it. Empathy, because you save time. You've been able to spend more time with your colleagues, and you've been able to understand them. And I would assume that in pandemic time, also hierarchies are broken. So you're actually dealing with a lot more people than you ever did, and you're getting to know them and their strengths and their positives.
Dr. Batra, if I may, and I should have mentioned this, one thing which just came to mind is, my job is such that and you and I spoke about it in one of our earlier interactions. You travel 15 to 20 days a month. Now there are lots of my requirement of my job was to travel 15 days, a lot within the country, but maybe once a month or once in 2 months make a trip to the UK or the US. And I was never fond of traveling. So, and I can tell you now with 3 months into this, I haven't traveled. I'm not getting any withdrawal symptoms. I'm very happy because I believe I've been far more productive staying where I am and delivering on what I'm delivering. The second piece is as we are.
I can only say that I can copy that. I am also, I haven't traveled since 1st March. I really don't feel a need. I think we can accomplish a lot from home. And as you said, we can be more productive and get into more detailing.
Yeah, absolutely. And just, to add to that point, I mean, I feel at least my team members who were outside Gurgaon, because my office is based in Gurgaon, I live in Delhi, but would have felt left out of a lot of meetings. Now it doesn't matter if there is, and we do virtual meetings day in, day out. Person could be in Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, Gurgaon, Mumbai. We are all in it at the same, or could be, 2 blocks away from where I live. We are all in it together. So there is a far more feeling of inclusivity which had never come through earlier, where people were feeling left out.
Fantastic. I think at this point we can enable 2 audience questions. Some of them have asked Tanvi Raghav. We can first get Prachi Chandaramani and then we can get Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Chopra, though I've pretty much, Prachi asked 7 questions, so I couldn't put all of them. But if there is one, Prachi wants to ask another question, then Mr. Chopra. Prachi, we can get you can unmute yourself and ask the question to Mr. Adlakha.
Yeah, hi. It was a wonderful talk. I'm really enjoying this session. I just want to know that, because I come from the training industry and I'm training a lot of people, employees and everybody. So what are the key skills which you think that employees should really now, adapt, and even the fresh graduates who will be graduating soon, what are the 3 skills that they should be really having so that they do not find difficulty in job market, like get employed very well?
So I don't know whether the number would be 3 or 2 or 5, but let me just tell you 2 or 3 key tenets as a leader. If I was to look at somebody who's coming into the job market, I always look for appetite in terms of there should be hunger to do a job, right? So if somebody is coming in for, let's say, a job interview, they should have read about whatever is going on. Second is, in these uncertain times that we are all living in, and we are probably these uncertain times are going to continue for a bit. How are they going to be prepared to adjust the leadership style? Not only leadership style, the style of working in these uncertain times, because they're going to be taking decisions on the fly, right? There's a decision today, they will have to adapt, and flexibility is going to be core to whatever they do. Because if they decide they don't want to be flexible, they have a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset, there's going to be a problem. So growth mindset is all about being adaptable and flexible. And I think those would be the tenets any leader for that matter, or any institution is going to look at. So it's all about flexibility. It's having a growth mindset, being adaptable, having a hunger to do hard work, because that part of the world is never going to change, right? Nothing succeeds like success. And like Dr. Batra spoke earlier, digital is the way to go. Invest in yourself. Leverage this time to not only pick one skill, because one of the best ways to do this is broad base your learning. Don't be fixated. Don't be so that nobody can call you a digital expert. Pick up 3 or 4 skill sets. Who knows when what will come into use?
What really something which was not happening at American Express before COVID now has started happening. Like one big change which you saw at Amex happening after COVID-19.
So I think what has started to happen, like I said, for us post-COVID, one of the things is we are reaching out to our customers even more, because we realize that, this is the time we need to have their back 100%. So we are reaching out to the customers far more in a different, we would have loved to go and make customer calls. We can't do that, but there is a lot of outreach that is asking, and it's not a hardcore, it's not a sell job asking them to buy more products from American Express. We're not doing that at all. It's asking them about their well-being, right? And asking them is there any which way we can help them? And it goes back to the essence of what the company stands for, which is, like I said and repeat it, is to provide the world's best customer experience. And, at times like this, if we do what our job is, and this is our job, I don't believe we're doing anything extraordinary. This is our job to serve and to meet the needs of our customers. The customers are going to remember us at a later point in time. So it's not with any agenda. But all we are out there is to make sure that we meet the needs of the customers at this point.
Good. I think Prachi has answered your question. We also have Mr. Sanjeev Kumar Chopra. Mr. Chopra, go ahead, ask your question to Mr. Adlakha.
Sir, I would like to know what you predict for next 6 to 8 months Indian economy recoveries.
So he's asking you, how do you see the Indian economy recovering?
Next 6 to 8 months.
Yeah. So is that Mr. Chopra? Yeah.
Yes. Mr.
Okay, so Mr. Chopra, I'm no economist, but so I've read probably the same articles that are doing the rounds. So let me just share with you two broad parameters. One is what's happening in India and what's happening. Sometimes you can't look at economy in isolation with what is happening globally. When we look at the US itself, the US contracted. The GDP actually contracted by 5% in Q1, 4.8% to be precise. In Q2, which is just going to happen, and they work on calendar year. We'll get the results, I guess, in the next month or two. It's likely to contract at there'll be a far more deeper cut in the US GDP. When coming closer home to India, there are various estimates that have been put by the agencies. Earlier, it was expected that the GDP was likely to grow anywhere between 5 to 6%. Right now, and you again have various experts talking about it. I think, in my view, if we come out even flat, that would be a huge win for India. But it's no different than any other country that is experiencing this whole COVID catastrophe. I think the key thing over here is what happens to COVID in the next 2, 3, 4 months, and how do we contain it? And with that would be the downstream impact, of COVID. We are seeing unemployment numbers. They are out there. They don't look very pretty, but let's see how it is.
Thank you. There is one question from Rohit Jain. Thank you for the session. Can you please talk a bit about how much of the current changes in consumer behavior will sustain once things start to gradually improve? And how much would be the permanent changes and how would be only temporary? So what are the changes? You already talked about how digital will be way of life, but if there are other supplementary comments that you have, you may want to.
Mr. Jain, thank you for that question. The way I see this is there's some things that change forever. I think, and I want to take a moment to digress a little from your question here. I think all of us on this call, the fact that we have these kind of excellent instruments to engage with each other on, we are blessed, and we must count our blessings. We should look outside of our homes, and not that we should travel out at this point in time, but we are seeing what's going on with, whether it's, the migrants who are walking hundreds and thousands of miles to get to their homes, people who are, homeless, who don't know where the next meal is going to come from. I feel deeply for them. And, that's where, as a community, we should do what we can do. That strata of society, and, when you look at unemployment, India, when you look at, the total number of jobs out there, 70% is in the unorganized sector. They are the most deeply impacted with this. So I think they will take a long time for that to come back. But overall, on a consumption basis, our consumption patterns are going to change. Some will change, I feel, forever. Travel and entertainment will come back. I don't believe it's going to come back, at least, unless it's essential travel. Domestic travel will come back sooner. International travel will probably come back sometime, next year. But corporate travel, as an example, a lot of people now will be very comfortable engaging virtual. So they will be asking the question, why do I need to travel for a business meeting to New York when I can do it virtually? I think a lot of those kind of questions will come up. But, whether it's retail spending or, there will be a desire to go out, but the spending levels will come down. And I think the only last point I would make here is people have also realized that now, if there's one thing which is certain, is uncertainty. So we will have to prepare for that. And if that means a little more savings, so be it. Diversification. Somebody else asked a question about, what happens to my child who's going to go out for, in September. We'll have to now start taking all those things into consideration because there may be unemployability, and we have to, prepare for a rainy day, and that directly has an impact on consumption patterns.
Thank you so much. We'd like to thank you from BW Business World, businessworld.in, for this engaging and authentic conversation. I would only say that today's dialogue has made a lot of things clear. The summary is that one, the number one skill leaders need to have is empathy. Two, in travel, there will be a cut in spending because digital has empowered us to do a lot of things that we would travel for. Third is consumers and holiday seekers may go to destinations that are accessible through road and are close by, even if they want to go for a holiday. Fourth is, technology is enabling that the digital economy will become fully digital at some stage in the next 2 to 5 years. Mr. Adlakha already shared that 80 to 90% of the payments being made are through digital means. Six, he also talked about how customer service and experience will become even more important in this digital economy. So he also talked about that, being an entrepreneur helps you in your work. You have to be an entrepreneur in any leadership position. If you're not an entrepreneur, you possibly cannot lead. You have to take entrepreneurial decisions. So I think these are the learnings that we take away from Mr. Adlakha. We wish you good luck in your endeavor to provide customer service to the Amex customers. And we thank you for that personal perspective on how should parents approach their children's education if they were looking to go abroad. And we wish you luck in every aspect. We wish you abundance, and we look forward to having a conversation soon again. Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, very kind of you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.